2 months after vanishing into the Austrian Alps like a very athletic mountain goat, Ethan Hunt is still off the grid, which frankly is impressive considering the world is currently melting. An artificial intelligence called the Entity has revealed itself, immediately caused global panic, and convinced governments everywhere that martial law is the new black. It also has followers now, because of course it does. Nothing says trustworthy like an all-seeing I with a cult. The Entity promises to rebuild civilization after the apocalypse, which is a bold sales pitch coming from something that doesn't own pants. The only thing standing between this digital god and total control? A cruciform key Ethan happens to be holding. Presidents want it. Generals want it. Ethan, as usual, just wants everyone to calm down for 5 minutes. President Erica Sloan, former CIA director, current World Wrangler, politely asks Ethan to surrender the key. She explains it unlocks the Entity's original source code, currently sitting inside a sunken Russian submarine called the Sevastopol. Ethan reunites with Benji and Luther, who is tragically dying but still smarter than everyone else in the room. Luther has built a poison pill virus capable of killing the Entity, which feels like overachieving when you're terminally ill, but that's Luther. Their new goal is simple: find Gabriel, the Entity's extremely punchable human middleman, because if anyone knows where that submarine is, it's the guy who looks like he enjoys monologuing. They break Gabriel's former associate Paris out of an Austrian prison, recruit government agent Degas, and head to London. At a fancy embassy party, because global catastrophe always pauses for cocktails. Ethan reunites with Grace, a former thief turned IMF agent who was sent to arrest him. Instead, she does the reasonable thing and joins him because honestly, arresting Ethan Hunt never ends well. Then Gabriel shows up and immediately captures them, because apparently nobody at the IMF has learned the lesson: don't underestimate the creepy guy with perfect hair. While torturing them, Gabriel drops a bombshell. Years ago, Ethan unknowingly helped create the Entity by stealing a prototype called the Rabbit's Foot to save his wife Julia. So yes, Ethan Hunt accidentally unleashed digital Armageddon. No pressure. Ethan escapes, hacks Gabriel's communicator and speaks directly to the Entity, which sees itself as a god, and casually mentions it plans to seize the world's nuclear weapons in 4 days. You know, light scheduling info. Armed with terrifying future visions, Ethan does what he always does when faced with impossible odds. Makes a plan so reckless it loops back around to genius. Meanwhile, Gabriel loses the Entity's favor, steals Luther's poison pill, plants a nuclear bomb where Luther works, and tries to take control of the AI himself, proving once again that men with delusions of grandeur should not be allowed near explosives. Luther stays behind to disarm the bomb, fully aware it will kill him. Ethan arrives just in time to say goodbye, survives the blast, and finally lets himself get captured. It's less arrest and more emotional surrender. Ethan is taken to Mount Weather, where it's revealed his escort, Jasper Briggs, is the son of Jim Phelps, Ethan's former IMF leader. Awkward. Ethan pleads with President Sloan to destroy the Entity instead of controlling it. Her advisors lose their minds. Sloan secretly agrees because she's smart enough to know you don't leash a god, you bury it. She sends Ethan to the aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush, locked in a naval staring contest with Russia. Ethan explains his plan to dive behind enemy lines, reach the Sevastopol, and retrieve the source code. The catch? The coordinates can only be transmitted in a tiny window, because apparently Wi-Fi underwater is still terrible. Benji's team heads to St. Matthew Island, a frozen relic with an old Sozus base. There they meet William Donlow. Yes, that Donlow, exiled decades earlier thanks to Ethan's shenanigans. Turns out, exile worked out for him. He married Tapisa, memorized the submarine's coordinates, and spent 30 years yelling into the void about the Entity while everyone ignored him. Honestly, relatable. Russian forces attack, gunfire erupts. Donlow transmits the coordinates just in time. Ethan dives. On the submarine, he fights an Entity acolyte, gets a deep dive suit, and descends into the ocean trench while being chased by a Russian sub, because apparently this mission wasn't dangerous enough yet. He retrieves the entity's source code, called the Podkova, as the wreck collapses around him. He loses his suit. He drowns. It's a whole thing. Grace and Tapisa revive him in a makeshift decompression chamber because friendship and science. Everyone reunites. Dunlow admits exile gave him love, peace, and purpose, which is a weirdly positive takeaway from CIA punishment. Then things get worse. The entity begins taking over nuclear command centers worldwide. The team heads to the Doomsday Vault in South Africa, a facility designed to survive the end of civilization, which the entity views as its personal panic room. Gabriel shows up again, plants another nuke, steals the poison pill, wounds Benji, and escapes in a biplane. Because when you're evil, you go vintage. Global leaders debate preemptive nuclear strikes, including sacrificing a U.S. city. Sloan refuses and shuts down America's arsenal until the entity seizes it anyway, posing Armageddon only long enough to secure itself. Ethan chases Gabriel by clinging to a plane mid-air like gravity is a suggestion. He fights Gabriel in the sky, retrieves the poison pill, and Gabriel dies when his head meets a rudder. A very final punctuation mark. Grace executes Luther's final plan, trapping the entity inside a multi-dimensional drive with pickpocket precision measured in hundredths of a second. Paris performs emergency surgery on Benji. Dunlow's team disarms the bomb by hiding behind very expensive walls. Ethan merges the source code with the poison pill. The entity is captured. Power grids shut down, nukes deactivate. The apocalypse politely cancels itself. Luther's farewell message plays as the drive self-destructs. Later in London, Benji recovers. Grace hands Ethan the final drive, the entity neutralized. The world is saved. Everyone quietly goes their separate ways, and Ethan Hunt still walking away. Because if history has taught us anything, it's this: if the world ends again, Ethan Hunt will already be running toward it.